You know what this is? This is the face of frustration at a self-checkout line. My name's Heather Hickok Mahan, and today we're going to talk about the downside of self-checkouts. I'm the mother of 2 teenagers, and I spend more than my fair share of time in grocery stores and retail stores. And over the past decade or so, I've noticed a major shift at the point of sale. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure if you stop to think about it, which maybe you have and maybe you haven't, but if you notice more and more stores are popping up with these machines where you're expected as a customer to be able to ring and operate and check yourself out. And there are fewer and fewer cashiers. This creates an issue. That particular picture that I just showed you, it kind of prompted my research into this subject, and that's what gave me the idea to do this particular persuasive speech on that. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, and as I started to do some research, I really started to see just how big of an issue this particular problem can be. That picture was taken after standing in line for about 15 minutes. I had 3 items I was trying to check out at a big box retailer. Shouldn't have been a big deal. I had a coupon that was valid, and the poor associate was trying to help me. She could not figure out what was going on. She couldn't get a manager to come over and override it. The line was building up behind me. I'm standing there starting to feel this pressure. She's feeling the pressure, and yet there are no cashiers open. I think it was a Sunday evening, and there might have been 2 cashiers open in a huge store and maybe 10 self-checkout lines available. And people were building up and lines were getting longer and longer, and that feeling, that anxiety that happens at that point is not what the customer should experience in a store like that. So I started to do a little research on the topic, and I came across this article on HuffPost.com, and it was astounding. I found out that as of right now, the big trend in retail stores is to replace full-time employees as cashiers with these machines. And they are expected, they said the common retail expectation is that 60 to 70% of all customers be steered towards these self-checkout lines. And that's huge. You think about the number of people in a store, and everybody's kind of being funneled into these self-checkout lines, and they don't have live people employed. And that kind of blew my mind, but I really wasn't that surprised, but the statistic is kind of astounding. We have a couple of solutions, and I'll go over those with you as we talk through some of the issues a little bit deeper. But I want to give you a little history about how self-checkouts came about. David R. Humble was standing in a grocery store. He's an inventor. He worked in technology. He's standing in a grocery store, and there was a frustrated customer in front of him. Apparently, the cashier was taking a little too long to check some things out for the customer in front of them, and the guy said, "Why can't we just scan our own stuff and get out of here a lot quicker?" That kind of sparked a little idea in this particular gentleman back in 1984, and he went to work, came up with a machine and an idea, and brought it to market. The whole idea and the premise of it was great because it was designed to enhance the customer's experience, make things more efficient, speed things up, maybe take some of the weight out of cashing out. But that technology or that advancement works great if you only have a few items. But what we're finding now is that they're pushing us all into these self-checkouts, and if you have a cart full of groceries, it's not efficient for one individual to have to sit there and sort all of the items, scan everything, bag everything, go through all of the different commands, and wait for an associate if necessary. So it really isn't time consuming for everyone. It has its place and it has its purpose, but it isn't something that we should be forced to do. In addition, I think what I found was the biggest issue was the impact that it's having on the job market. Cashiers are some of the most common U.S. entry-level jobs, and they are being replaced at an astounding rate. The statistic from a Department of Labor and Statistics showed that 11,000 jobs in March of 2019 were replaced by retailers. 11,000 retail jobs were replaced by automated checkouts. That's incredible if you just think about it. That's 1 month alone. HuffPost also published a statistic that said between the years, or an estimate that between the year of 2016 and 2026, nearly 30,600 retail jobs are going to be replaced by these machines. The bottom line is machines don't pay taxes, machines don't contribute to 401k programs, machines don't have an impact on the economy the same way that a full-time employee does. The idea behind incorporating these machines is no longer about enhancing the customer's experience. It's about cutting the retailer's bottom line, and we as consumers are going to take on those challenges. Number one, we're losing our time because we're being utilized as free labor. We're in there trying to check ourselves out, being frustrated. Have you ever stood behind somebody that's having a hard time checking themselves out? Have you ever been there when you can't get the machine to operate properly? It's frustrating, but we're being expected for, these retailers are utilizing us as free labor, and that's just not right. So it doesn't just impact the job market, but it also has an impact on us as consumers and the time that we spend in the stores. One example, just imagine that you coming home from a long day at work, you're gonna stop by and grab something quick for dinner. You've got, say, a coupon for a rotisserie chicken, and you decide you might want to have a little bottle of wine to go with that, and you need a couple of things from the produce aisle. It should be a quick little stop, correct? Well, if you're herded into that self-checkout line because there's only one cashier and the line is long, you go through that, you've got 4 or 5 items that you need to check out. You get up there, you start to scan, you've got to wait for an associate to check your ID and to verify that you're old enough to purchase that wine you have in your cart. Then you've got to scan that coupon. If there's something goes wrong with that coupon, you've got to wait for a manager to come over and override it. And then you get to the ever so fun part of scanning produce. Have you ever had that experience trying to sort through all the different items on the produce thing? The technology is not quite user-friendly yet to be implemented for it to be the only way to check out. So us as consumers, we have an opportunity. We can dictate this. We can change the way our shopping experience goes down if we discern, if we really take the time to stand in that line. If there's one cashier and that self-checkout line is, there's 10 machines ready to go for us and there's only one register. If we take that time, we stand in line, we wait for that human interaction, we're going to kind of drive these retailers into employing more people. We have to be willing to wait. We have to discern when to use these checkout items, these self-checkout lanes. Sometimes they're convenient and sometimes they're not. The bottom line is we need to make retailers recognize that cashiers are necessary. They feed our economy, they save us time as consumers, and they contribute to that social interaction which we already have a struggle with our society as we know it now. We spend so much time on devices as it is, we're losing that human factor. So I encourage you, go out there, stand in that line, wait for that cashier, play that particular role as a consumer and demand your shopping experience be yours, and make those choices for yourself. Because as I see it, we can either contribute to this brick and mortar retail experience where there's a balance between consumers and employees, or we can sit at home behind our computers, order all of our goods online, and totally bypass the human experience. The choice is ours, and that's the bottom line. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my audience. Get out there and go shopping and wait in line. Thank you.